So we're going to be talking about this wild story that has been blowing up all over the internet today, coming from Brian Cox, the Hollywood actor who gives his sage wisdom on things such as religion, patriarchy, and the Bible being one of the worst books ever written. So we're going to be taking a look at this and seeing what he has to say in just a small snippet of this interview that he did. As some of you probably know, I'm a Christian myself, so I'm going to be rebutting some of the things that he has to say here. This is going to be a very interesting discussion. So I definitely want to hear your guys' opinions and comments about this in the comments below, so please let me know. But let's go ahead and jump right into this. Brian Cox criticizes the Bible, calls it the worst book ever. And yes, the Bible is terrible, religion is terrible, patriarchy is terrible, men are the worst, my friends. He criticized narratives from religious texts, particularly the Bible, for promoting so-called patriarchal ideas, which, according to, male feminists such as him, that is a very bad thing. We need to abolish the patriarchy, we need to tear it down, and we need to establish the matriarchy, which, as everyone knows, is not sustainable for society whatsoever. We need men just as much as we need women, but they have different roles, and there is nothing wrong with that. We should not be trying to encourage women to be men. We should not be trying to encourage men to be women. That is, of course, damaging to any society that wants to thrive.
You think that religion holds us back?
Oh, considerably, yes. I think religion does hold us back because it's...
Which is interesting because earlier in this conversation, he talks about how theater is his church. Theater is his church. Theater is where he bases his religion on, is on theatrical stuff and cinema and all of that type of stuff. That is where he bases his religion on, which just goes to show that everyone worships something. We are creatures of worship. We worship something. Everyone worships something, whether it's yourself, whether it is your own desires, your own licentious behaviors, all of that type of stuff, or whether it is something outside of yourself. Everyone worships something. You cannot escape that.
It's belief systems which are outside ourselves. They're not dealing with who we are. We're dealing, well, if God says this and God does that, and you go, well, what is God? We've created that idea of God, and we've created it as a control issue. And it's also a patriarchal issue.
Which is exactly where it started, right?
Yeah. And
patriarchy! The worst thing ever, guys.
That's how it started, and it's essentially patriarchal. We haven't given enough scope to the matriarchy. And I think, we need to move matriarchally. We have to go more towards a matriarchy because...
Are you saying that the patriarchy should move more towards a matriarchy? I think that patriarchy in itself is not a bad thing. There's, of course, toxic patriarchy, which is something that is a problem, but patriarchy in itself is not a bad thing. But he is literally admitting here that men ultimately are the ones that will give women more power if they so choose.
The mothering thing is the thing which is the real conditioning of our lives. Our fathers don't condition ourselves. They're too bloody selfish. But our mothers have to.
Which is what the Bible addresses. The Bible in itself is a book that goes directly against human desire. And I don't think that's something that he really understands, is that the Bible doesn't encourage us to live in licentious behavior. The Bible doesn't encourage us to live in our weaknesses or to, wallow in our vices. It calls us to reach for something that is beyond our human nature.
Because they have an umbilical, that's what the umbilical cord is about. They have, even though it's cut away, there's an umbilical relationship to your child. And the women have that. Men do not have that. They're just sperm banks, movable sperm banks to walk around and come and go, actually, I'll go with that for a bit. And then you move on.
And that is why it is important for mothers to be the nurturers of children. Men are not that great at, being mothers, okay? So there's a difference, and there's a difference between men and women. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with differences in men and women. In fact, we should try to celebrate our differences and try to encourage each other in our differences, because our differences raise each other up.
We have to honor them, and we have to give them their place, and we're resistant to that. Because, it's Adam and Eve. Eve is, the propaganda goes right the way back. The Bible is one of the worst books ever.
Even though the Bible literally says that men are to love their wives. Which, once again, shows us that the Bible is encouraging us to go against our own human sinful nature.
For me, from my point of view, because it starts with the idea that Adam's rib, that out of Adam's rib this woman was created. And they'll believe it, because they're stupid enough.
Yeah, but you probably believe in the Big Bang, right? Like a tiny little speck that blew up into the entire universe. That's probably something that you believe, right? You know, even though you can take a look at throughout all of science and see that there is absolutely some sort of intelligent design that was put into everything, every little aspect of the world, of the universe, had some sort of intelligent design behind it. Otherwise, you know, you think that everything that is in creation happened just because of some random explosion? I don't know. To me, you got to be pretty stupid to believe that.
They need some kind of truth, and that is not the truth. It is not the truth. It's a mythology.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. Jesus, who said that he is the way, the truth, and the life, is not the truth after all. And in fact, truth comes from the Hollywood actor himself, Brian Cox, who is the arbiter of all truth. Just remember that, okay? With his modernistic ideas and male feminist ideologies, it is not Jesus who radically changed the world and changed history forever. It is not that, okay? And the Bible is such a mythology that it completely radically spread throughout the entire world, and it completely changed the entire world, and that is how much of a mythology it is, guys. Okay, so Jesus, as we know, is king, and there's nothing that Brian Cox can say to change that. So with that being said, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.